afternoon, and I first want to start by saying that I am extremely grateful to be here with you all today, and a little nervous too. So I want to start by saying that we have the power to transform our universities into authentically diverse and inclusive environments. I believe that in our lifetime, we can truly transform universities in the way that we do diversity on campus. We can decide to have inclusive and more loving environments for college students on campus. So first, I want to start with millennials. They say many things about us, but one of the things that they say is that we are lazy, we're self-centered, self-indulged, we're not involved in our communities, we're on our phones all the time, and we take way too many selfies. And I, in some ways, agree, but I also think that there's something many folks don't know about millennials. One of the things that most people do not know about millennials is that we are the most diverse and educated group of people the world has ever seen. 47% of millennials earned a secondary degree, be it associate's, bachelor's, or a graduate degree. As well, the U.S. Census projects that by the year 2044, more than half of all Americans will identify as a person of color. To me, that speaks volumes to what it means in education and diversity. But the issue is that if we don't take this moment right now, we may miss the opportunity to change the world, not only for us, but our children. So I want to go through a few issues that I want to critique and say why diversity isn't working, but then express to you why I have hope and why diversity can truly work. One of the first issues is that increased enrollment of diverse students does not equal inclusive campus environments. Across the United States, we've seen a great growth of students on campuses. Since the year 1971 up until 2011, Black students has almost increased double, and Latino students has almost quadrupled. With this being said, students have more access to campus, but that does not mean that the campuses are more inclusive. I myself was a first-generation college student as an undergraduate. I went to a predominantly white college, but when I say predominantly white, my school was in the cornfields. And so not only was I not in a large city, I was in a very small city in a college town. And one example where my environment was inclusive, but in some ways not, was one instance that I had. So when I was in college, we had finished our second semester, and we were done with the year. We were so excited. We were done. We said, hey, we're going to the bars tonight. We're going to hang out. We're going to have a good time. There was a total of about 6 of us that went. All of us were African American. One young man in particular had on a hat to the back, a red Bulls jersey, shorts and sneakers. And so we all went to the bar. We're all excited. I remember this day that we were all just like excited to be done with finals. We get to the bar. We show our IDs. 2 of us get in. A third person gets in. But when my friend in the hat shows up and shows his ID, the bouncer at the bar did not let him in. So those of us who were able to go into the bar came back and was wondering, what's going on? Is something wrong with your ID? Did you not bring cash? We didn't think anything of it. And so the bouncer tells us that what he was wearing was against the bar's dress code and that it was affiliated with a gang. So some of us were upset, some of us were confused, and some of us were just ready to get away from the situation and do something else. In that same moment, we saw a young man wearing a hat, a jersey, shorts, and sneakers, very similar to the outfit that my friend was wearing. We watched as he showed his ID, and he had no issue getting in. He was a white young man. And so from that moment, I realized that even though I was admitted into this university was not meant for me at that moment. But in the same breath, and in the same way that I have hope, I do believe that universities can create initiatives to not only support students once they get to campus, but to also foster those students and truly help them inclusively. One example at my university, the same university that I experienced this, as well as being called the N-word once when I was in the street, or walking to another destination, is the McNair Scholars Program. The McNair Scholars Program is a program for the first generation, low-income students who are interested in earning their master's and potentially their PhD. This program is intended for diverse students, but as you see, it's intended for first generation students. Universities can foster true inclusion by having programs that are not exclusively for students of color, but that can also help first generation students overall. Another issue and why diversity doesn't work is because when reports of discrimination are reported, they're either ignored or excessively punished. So there's this paradigm that happens where when students report issues, when they protest and speak out, many times those things either are silenced or wait till they're ignored. Or when these things are called, or when these things are reported, they're excessively punished. One example is in 2011 at the University of Oklahoma, a fraternity called SAE sung a chant that said, "There will never be an N-word in SAE." This organization did not admit African American students and was proud of not doing such. When this video surfaced, the president saw it. It obviously went on CNN and all over YouTube. And so the president fired the two students who were mostly, who were sharing the chant. He completely the students were suspended from the school, and so the president automatically just kicked them out. And so for me, I question justice. And when I say that, I question this because, yes, these students indeed needed to be held accountable, but at what cost? And whose justice was this? For me, I consider justice to be restorative. I consider it to be loving, not something that means that when someone makes a mistake, they should be completely exposed, they should be completely kicked out of a university and no longer be able to attend. I think we have to really question, when we do decide that someone does something wrong, how do we interact with that? Do these students truly know what they did? Do they understand why this was offensive? How did this really help the students who were involved and that were hurt? So I think there are ways that we can restore and change the culture and institutional racism within universities rather than just kicking out these students so that this fraternity continues to do these actions again. In the same voice and in the same breath, again, I have hope. And I have hope because I experienced some restorative justice as an undergraduate student. When I was an undergraduate student, my last semester of college, I served as the Black Student Union president. And on campus, we had an incident that was similar. White students had tweeted derogatory and racist statements about Black students for no apparent reason. When this incident happened, I was asked to sit on a committee with the faculty and staff to figure out what would happen to these students. Now, I don't know if I was a little crazy or what I was thinking, but one of the white students who tweeted, I decided to meet with him. I said, you know, this kid did something really wrong and really disrespectful and harmful to me, but who is this person as a whole? What is this person's whole humanity? And so I sat on this committee and they asked me, what were my recommendations for this student? What did I desire? Most people wanted me to say I wanted him to leave, but the truth was, I just wanted him to really learn what he did. I wanted him to understand the ramifications of his actions and truly change his behavior. The university still decided to still decided to kick that student out. But what came out of that initiative was an initiative that I helped launch with my university called Not in Our Town. Not in Our Town is an initiative that says that no matter what happens on a college campus, if it is bullying of any sort, homophobia, transphobia, racism, gender-based violence, that we won't stand for it at our institution. This is a way that we can truly do diversity. This is a way we can truly create inclusive and loving environments that are not reactive but proactive to racist incidents on campus. And lastly, I think a critique that says why diversity isn't working and why we're doing a bad job at it is that Centers for Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity across the United States many times play gatekeepers and sustain the status quo. And when I say that, I mean that many times when students do have complaints or when students do protest, these offices who should be in front of justice and in front of supporting these students really quell the students and play almost as firefighters to dull down the action and the students' voices on campus. I experienced as an undergraduate, as a graduate student, and I've seen it play out in many other ways. Also, these offices many times are reactive rather than proactive. So when something happens, rather than deciding right now we're going to change or we're going to plan to do something different, we implement something reactively and then we just hope that it changes. But truly, institutionally, the culture does not change. And so today, and not necessarily today, but this year, we stand on the 50th year of integration here at Agnes Scott College. As the program coordinator for diversity and inclusion, I sit here and think about all the ways that I show up at the university and where I stand when it comes to justice and equality here on campus. Personally, for myself, I believe that Agnes Scott is working truly hard to be proactive. I definitely don't think we have everything right, but I think that Agnes Scott is beginning to set a model and a mold for diversity on campus. So lastly, in conclusion, I want to say that diversity on college campuses isn't just a benefit for Black and brown students, but it's a benefit for all students. It's the opportunity for all of us to grow and all of us to not only acknowledge our diverse differences, but to see each other as true equals and lift up those things that make us different. Thank you.